Hello everyone, I'm on the PTR, so let's talk about Season 4. And in this video I want to talk about Fury in particular. I will probably talk about arms at some point, but I want to talk about Fury in this one first, because I think that's the most interesting topic here. And as you may or may not know, there was a voting at some point a few weeks or months ago where we had to vote for the set that we wanted to come back, and Season 2 won that vote, meaning that we will be playing this set here. And that's something I'm really happy about, because that means we'll be playing this spec, meaning we'll be playing the anger management plus Ravager build. This build puts the focus back on generating and spending as much rage as possible so that you can use your cooldowns as often as possible, and your cooldowns help you get your cooldowns back again. So your cooldowns generate a lot of rage, meaning you can spend a lot of rage, which means that you get your cooldowns back as quickly as possible, right? It's a really nice feedback loop, and that feels like Fury to me. And the focus is back on Rampage. You have Onslaught, which gives you an easy way to end rage, and it feels good to press this button as well. You have Raging Blow back in the rotation, and I don't know, it just generally feels really good to me. So yeah, that's compared to Season 3. It's no secret that I didn't like Season 3's set, because I don't know, I didn't enjoy the Reckless Abandon plus Annihilator playstyle, but to each their own, right? So Season 2 set is Rampage damage and crit chance increased by 10%. They actually buffed this to 12%, which is nice, I guess. The 2 set, though, isn't really that interesting. But the 4 set is the one that makes it so that whenever you Rampage, you get a stacking buff, which makes it so that your next Bloodthirst has a 10% increased crit chance, deals 25% more damage, and generates 2 additional rage, and that stacks up to 10 times. You never actually stack this up to 10. You would just use it whenever your whenever your Bloodthirst crit chance was at 95% or higher. You would use a weak aura to track this, or you could just do it without a weak aura as well. You can go by feel, but of course a weak aura will just make it very consistent. They actually buffed the 4 set as well, from 10% to 12% here, and from 25% to 30%. But despite that, on a pure single target sim, Fury is looking like it's going to be bottom barrel on pure single target, which is not very good. But it is early PTR, and we can only hope that Blizzard is going to keep their promise and tune accordingly, because yeah, it's looking like Fury definitely needs some help on pure single target. The one nice thing about Fury, though, is that it doesn't really lose much single target when it specs for AoE. It's kind of been Fury's saving grace this entire expansion, I feel like. But yeah, what else can I say? Yes, the gear. So Ashkander, we can use Ashkander and the Legendary, which is a nice bonus, but again, this isn't really enough to save Fury's single target right now, but Ashkander would do about 1 to 2% free damage on single target, right? And we already know how much damage the Legendary does, so that's nice. And then there's the Whispering Incarnate Icon, which does seem to be a really strong option right now. I wouldn't be surprised if Blizzard nerfs this one, because it does seem to have a little bit too much stats. And then there's a puzzle box, which is a little bit controversial, because people didn't really like using this trinket. And I understand why, because every 3 minutes, you would need to cast this trinket for a second or a second and a half. To me, that wasn't really a big deal. I was perfectly fine with using this trinket. It is a really good all-rounder trinket. It is good for single target and for AoE, but it's not the best at any, I don't think. I think something like a Signet Brand will easily do better on a 5-minute fight on single target, and so with an Augury. And there are some other trinkets as well, such as the Ominous Chromatic Essence, Beacon, Grief Torch. I don't think Grief Torch will be actually used. Maybe Spiteful Storm, the trinket from Razagath. I actually haven't simmed all trinkets yet, but yeah. I think Algathar Puzzle Box does have a spot somewhere in our gear sets, in our bags. What else? Oh yes, the rings here. The Seal of Filial Duty and Seal of Geonis Chosen. These 2 rings are really powerful, and we probably will be using these. This ring here, the Geonis Chosen, probably does, like, from what I saw in my dungeon overalls, which is a lot of cleave and AoE, right? It still did about 1.2% of my damage. 1.2% is no joke on a ring that has the same amount of stats as a normal ring does, and a free bonus. And the same goes for the Seal of Filial Duty, really. It has a defensive a bonus, and the shields overall would do about the same amount of healing that my 5% leech does throughout the dungeon. Both of those free bonuses are just too good to pass up, and I think pretty much everyone will be using these 2 rings. So yeah, let's give you a quick demo of how this build plays with a puzzle box as well. So I'm going to open up with a puzzle box into Charge, into Whirlwind, into Onslaught. I'm going to use my Legendary here as well just to get it on cooldown, because it's going to be very difficult to find time to use the Legendary outside of our cooldowns. And I use my Bloodthirst whenever the stacks are, well, whenever the crit chance is above 95%. And the goal is to rampage as much as possible. So my cooldowns are ending now, but would you look at that? They are back again, so we send them again. So the goal is just use Rampage as much as possible, generate as much rage as possible so you can use Rampage as much as possible. And whenever your cooldowns come up, just send them. Don't focus on trying to line up your cooldowns or anything like that. Just use them. You see, Roar is coming up there. I just sent Roar by itself. It's fine. And Recklessness and Ravager is coming back up as well. So just use cooldowns. The PTR lag is a bit annoying for me. Playing on around 300 ms here when I'm used to about 30. So, you know, the game feels a bit sluggish for me at the moment, but nonetheless, this feels so much more fun to me to play. So Avatar is ready. Again, I don't need to worry about trying to line that up with anything. Because when we press Recklessness and Ravager, we get 8 seconds on the Avatar anyway, plus Recklessness, meaning that every time you press Recklessness and Ravager, you are in full cooldowns for 8 seconds anyway, which is about as long as your Ravager lasts anyway. And the main thing about Ravager really is the amount of strength that it gives you. Or well, one of the big things about Ravager is that, at least. And again, I'm not in cooldowns now, so I think it's a good time to press my Legendary. So I'm gonna do it now. And send my stuff. Yeah. Cooldowns. Love it. One of my favorite iterations of Fury in a while, I think. I enjoyed this more than what we played in Shadowlands, more than the Merciless Bone Grinder stuff. Although I didn't really dislike the Merciless Bone Grinder, but it did become a little bit one-dimensional. Just like this will become one-dimensional after playing it for a long time, I guess. But out of the 3 versions of Fury that we played, or I should say 4 actually, because we did play a different version of Fury in the first few weeks of Dragonflight before we got a rework. Yeah, the Crushing Blow thing. The Crushing Blow took priority over everything built. I really dislike that. But yeah, this is the favorite version of Fury that we've had in Dragonflight so far. For sure. It's not particularly challenging to play, I guess, but it just feels satisfying. I like this. But yes, I've been hitting this dummy for more than 3 minutes now. I lose track of time when I'm playing this. I honestly do. I really like it. Right, so let's stop that now. I think that is really all I've got to say. I could talk really quickly about these dungeons, I guess. So the dungeons that we're going to be seeing in Season 4 are the Dragonflight dungeons, all of them except for Dawn of the Infinite. So that means we'll be getting banger dungeons like Algathar Academy back. And I really like Ruby Life Pools. I actually really like Nokud Offensive. I know a lot of people don't like Nokud, but I actually did. Brackenhide I didn't mind so much. There were some bad parts about it, but they nerfed a lot of the bad parts as well. Neltharis, I think it's kind of boring still, but they nerfed the chains so that we actually had to play the dungeon instead of having the dungeon getting killed by itself on the chains. Alderman, they haven't made many changes to yet, but I expect that they will make changes too, because a lot of people don't like this dungeon. So I think they need to make it more tolerable for people. Azure Vault, well, I don't think it's a really bad dungeon. I just didn't really find it that fun to play. I don't know. It just doesn't work for me. And Halls of Fusion, finally. This is probably the most disliked dungeon coming into the Season 4 pool. And they have made a lot of changes to this dungeon. There are a lot of really good ones, such as the checkpoint being added after the frog boss. They nerfed some of the trash. They have added some better visuals to the first boss and made a change to the debuff that drops a big pool instead of the big pool being instantly appearing under people. It will just grow outwards so that you can actually outrun it. And finally, the last boss, instead of going into the intermission on a timer, it goes in the intermission once per fight at 50% health. So you only get one main phase, one intermission. Sorry, 2 main phases and 1 intermission, and that's it. Anyway, sorry, I all of a sudden went off topic there. So I think that's all I've got to say about Fury, really. I hope you enjoyed this, and look forward to the ARMS one as well, because I will make one for ARMS as well. I'll probably post some runs of me playing some dungeons on the PTR. I think that will be an interesting watch. So see you next time.